Why Some at 70 Feel 50, a documentary. What if everything we've been told about getting older is just wrong? What if the aches, the decline, the slow retreat from life isn't a biological certainty, but just a story we've been telling ourselves for way too long? This whole thing started for me with a chance encounter. It was a crisp autumn afternoon in a park, and I was watching a woman who I guessed was in her late 40s, maybe early 50s. She was so agile, laughing as she chased a frisbee with her dog, her movements fluid and just full of energy. I ended up chatting with her and found out she was celebrating her 79th birthday that week. 79. And in her own words, she felt about 50 on a good day. That conversation lit a fire in me. Why do some people like her seem to defy their biological age, while others at 70 feel and look so much older? Is it just luck? Good genes? I refuse to believe it was that simple. So, I went on a journey. I spent months traveling all over, seeking out and interviewing the world's most vibrant seniors. I sat in their living rooms, walked through their gardens, and just listened. I wanted to decode their secrets, to understand the real, everyday choices that separated them from the depressing story of aging we're all used to. What I found were 7 powerful secrets, 7 principles that don't just add years to your life, but life to your years. And these aren't about crazy expensive treatments or impossible workout plans. They're fundamental shifts in mindset and daily habits that will challenge everything you think you know about getting older. The first secret is the one that surprised me the most because it has absolutely nothing to do with the gym. Section 1, the movement paradox. When we think fitness, we usually picture grueling workouts, clanging weights, and high-intensity training. But for the superagers I met, the approach was completely different. I call it the movement paradox. The best way to stay young isn't to hammer your body at the gym, but to weave constant natural movement into the very fabric of your day. I met a man named Arthur, a 78-year-old retired postal worker with the posture and energy of someone decades younger. He told me, with a twinkle in his eye, that he hadn't set foot in a gym in over 30 years. His secret? He walks everywhere.
When I retired, my wife said I'd turn into a couch potato. I decided to prove her wrong. It started with a walk to the post office every morning. Then it became a walk to the grocery store. Now I average about 10,000 steps a day without even thinking about it. My garden is my gym. My neighborhood is my treadmill.
Arthur's story isn't a one-off. It's the norm in the world's blue zones, regions where people live exceptionally long, healthy lives. Researchers studying these communities found that the longest-lived people don't pump iron or run marathons. Instead, their environments are set up to constantly nudge them into moving. They walk to their friends' houses, they garden by hand, and they do household chores without all the modern conveniences. This consistent low-intensity activity all day long is more powerful for promoting longevity than short bursts of intense exercise. And the science backs this up. Natural movement builds bone density, maintains muscle mass, and keeps our metabolism humming without the inflammatory stress that can come from overexerting yourself. It's not about pushing your body to its absolute limit, it's about keeping it in a state of gentle, perpetual motion. The takeaway here is beautifully simple. Start with a 15-minute on timberban. Maitre de farts I walk every morning. Don't stress about speed or distance. Just move. Park a little further away at the grocery store. Take the stairs. Find tiny ways to weave movement back into your life. Just like Arthur. He didn't just add an activity to his schedule, he changed his entire lifestyle, moving from a sedentary life to one defined by constant joyful motion. He didn't just get healthier, he rediscovered the world waiting right outside his front door. Section 2. The 80% rule. The second secret isn't about what you eat, but how you eat. In our culture, we're often taught to clean our plates. We eat until we're stuffed, mistaking that feeling of fullness for satisfaction. The vibrant seniors I met do the exact opposite. They live by a principle from Okinawa, Japan, another blue zone famous for its longevity. They call it hara hachi bu. It's a Confucian teaching that reminds people to stop eating when they feel about 80% full. I spoke with a 92-year-old woman named Emiko, who has practiced this her entire life. She described it not as a diet, but as a form of deep respect for her body.
My grandmother taught me this, Emiko said, gesturing to her stomach. She would say, "Leave a little room for your digestion to breathe. When you feel that first hint of being satisfied, that's the signal. The last few bites are for your ego, not your stomach."
It takes our brain about 15 to 20 minutes to even register that our stomach is full. By stopping at that 80% mark, you're not depriving yourself, you're giving your body's natural signals time to catch up. The truth is, when you feel 80% full, you've likely eaten just the right amount. This isn't just folk wisdom, it's backed by serious science. The science of caloric restriction is one of the most well-studied fields in longevity research. Studies have shown that even a modest reduction in calories can slow the pace of biological aging and reduce inflammation, which is a key driver of age-related diseases. Research published in Nature Aging found that even a 12% reduction in calories slowed the pace of aging by 2 to 3% in healthy adults, an effect that could lower mortality risk by 10-15% over time. The Okinawans who practice hara hachi bu have incredibly low rates of heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. So, how can you do this? The actionable tip is to start with smaller plates and bowls. Our eyes often tell us how much we should eat, and a smaller dish makes a normal portion look more satisfying. And, most importantly, eat slowly. Be mindful. Put your fork down between bites. Savor the food. This isn't about restriction, it's about attunement. One man I talked to lost 30 pounds and got back a level of energy he hadn't felt in years, just by adopting this one practice. He said the biggest change wasn't on the scale, but in his relationship with food. It went from a source of stress to a source of pure nourishment and pleasure. Section 3. Purpose over retirement. The third secret I found completely reframes one of the biggest milestones in modern life: retirement. In our society, retirement is often viewed as an end, the finish line after a long career, a time to finally stop. But for the world's longest live people, there isn't even a word for retirement. Instead, they have a concept the Japanese call ikigai. Ikigai roughly translates to a reason for being, or a reason to get up in the morning. It's that sweet spot, where what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be valued for all come together. It's not about a job, it's about purpose. I met a 72-year-old woman named Maria. After retiring from her career as a librarian, she felt a deep sense of loss. "I felt useless," she admitted. "My days had no structure. I was just drifting." After a few tough months, she rediscovered her childhood passion for painting. She started taking classes, and then began teaching kids in her community. Today her days are packed with purpose. "This is my ikigai," she told me, her studio bursting with vibrant canvases. "This gives me a reason to get out of bed. It's not about money, it's about sharing my joy and seeing that spark in a child's eye. It makes me feel alive." Her story is a powerful example of what science is now proving. A strong sense of purpose is like a potent elixir for a long, healthy life. Research has shown that having ikigai is linked to better mental and physical health. A nationwide longitudinal study in Japan found that having a sense of purpose was associated with a 31% lower risk of developing functional disability and a 36% lower risk of developing dementia over just a 3-year period. It provides a buffer against stress and encourages healthier behaviors like exercising and eating well. The mind and body are completely connected. When the mind has a reason to thrive, the body usually follows. A lot of people lose their sense of purpose when they retire or when their kids leave home. The key is to proactively find a new one. The actionable tip is to pick one passion project you can dedicate a few hours to each week. It could be mentoring a young person, volunteering for a cause you care about, learning a new instrument, or starting a community garden. It doesn't have to be some grand, world-changing thing. It just has to be yours. Maria's transformation from feeling adrift to feeling vital wasn't about finding a new job. It was about rediscovering a part of herself she had long forgotten. If you're finding value in these secrets, take a second to subscribe. There are 4 more coming, and each one builds on the last, creating a powerful framework for a more vibrant life. Section 4. social connections as medicine. In our hyper-connected world, we've never been more alone. It's a strange paradox. The fourth secret I uncovered is maybe the most critical and most overlooked part of a long, healthy life. Deep, meaningful social connection. It's not a nice to have, it's a biological necessity. I interviewed an 85-year-old man named Samuel whose weekly calendar was more packed than mine. He had his Tuesday morning coffee club, his Thursday night bowling league, and weekend family dinners. His phone was always ringing with friends just checking in.
I lost my wife about 10 years ago. For a while, I didn't want to see anyone. The silence in the house was deafening, but my friends, they wouldn't let me disappear. They dragged me out, and you know what? They saved my life.
Samuel's experience highlights a profound scientific truth. The U.S. Surgeon General has warned of a loneliness epidemic, declaring that a lack of social connection can be as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. It's associated with a much higher risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and premature death. One major meta-analysis found that people with strong social relationships have a 50% greater chance of survival compared to those with weak relationships. The vibrant seniors I met all had what Blue Zone's researcher Dan Buettner calls a MOI, a group of lifelong friends who support each other through thick and thin. These aren't superficial acquaintances, they are deep, committed relationships. These social circles provide emotional support which buffers stress, and they also subtly reinforce healthy habits. If your friends are active and eat well, you're more likely to do the same. The actionable tip is to be intentional with your social life. Schedule it like you would a doctor's appointment. Commit to one social outing a week, coffee with a friend, a community class, a volunteer activity. And if you're feeling isolated, be the one to make the first move. One man, who told me his world was shrinking after retirement, decided to start a book club. It started with just 2 other people in his living room. A year later, it had 20 members and had become the social hub of his community. He didn't just find friends, he built a lifeline for himself and for others. Sirfaminer, Ainasti Basaner, Unsi, Section 5. Plant forward, not plant only. When it comes to diet, the longevity world is full of confusing, conflicting advice. But across all the healthy aging communities I visited, from the mountains of Sardinia to the shores of Okinawa, a clear pattern emerged. This is the 5th secret. Eat a diet that is plant-forward, not necessarily plant-only. The vast majority of the food these centenarians eat, around 90–95%, comes from plants. Their diets are overflowing with vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and especially beans. Meat is eaten sparingly, more like a small side dish or saved for special occasions, maybe just a few times a month.
I shared a meal with a family in Sardinia, Italy, another blue zone. The star of the meal was a hearty minestrone soup, brimming with beans, garden vegetables, and a bit of local pasta. This is the food of our ancestors, the grandmother, Elena, told me. We eat what the land gives us. Meat is for celebrations. Everyday food is simple.
This plant-forward approach offers a powerful mix of benefits. Plant foods are packed with fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants that fight inflammation and support a healthy immune system. Adopting a more plant-forward diet is linked to a lower risk of heart disease, stroke, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and many cancers. But the forward part is key. This isn't about rigid restriction, which rarely lasts. It's about shifting the balance on your plate. By making plants the star of the show, you naturally eat fewer processed foods and saturated fats.
The takeaway here isn't to give up everything you love, but to add more of what loves you back. Start by adding 2 extra servings of vegetables to your daily meals. Fill 2/3 of your plate with plant-based foods, and treat meat as a garnish, not the main event. One woman I interviewed described her journey like this. I didn't banish meat. I just started making sure I ate a big salad before dinner. Over time, my cravings actually changed. I wanted those vibrant, energizing foods more. I didn't feel deprived, I felt empowered. Within 6 months, her energy levels had soared, and her health markers improved dramatically.
Section 6. Stress mastery through ancient wisdom. You can have the perfect diet and exercise routine, but if you're chronically stressed, you are aging faster. The 6th secret is mastering stress, not by avoiding it, but through daily, intentional practice. The longest-lived people have built-in rituals that allow them to shed stress and quiet their minds. In my interviews, I didn't hear about stress management apps or fancy biohacking gadgets. I heard about ancient, time-tested practices. I met an 80-year-old man in California who had been practicing Tai Chi every single morning for 30 years.
The world is fast and loud. Tai Chi is my anchor. For 20 minutes, I focus only on my breath and the slow movements. It's like a mental shower. It just washes away the worries.
Chronic stress floods our bodies with the hormone cortisol. Over time, high cortisol levels accelerate aging by increasing inflammation, messing up our sleep, and even shortening our telomeres, the protective caps on our DNA. Practices like meditation and Tai Chi are scientifically shown to lower cortisol levels and reduce the body's inflammatory response. One study on Tai Chi found it not only reduced psychological stress in older adults, but also dampened the activity of a protein complex that drives inflammation. Other studies show that meditation can literally help your cells age more slowly by increasing the activity of telomerase, the enzyme that repairs those telomeres. These practices work by activating the body's parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and repair mode. They provide a much-needed counterbalance to the fight-or-flight response that so many of us are stuck in. The actionable tip is to carve out a small, non-negotiable pocket of stillness in your day. You don't have to become a Zen master. Start with just 10 minutes. It could be a guided meditation, a gentle stretching routine, or simply focusing on your breath. One woman, a high-strung executive, told me she thought meditation was impossible for her. She started with just 3 minutes of deep breathing in her car after work. It was the first time I felt a separation between me and my stress, she said. That small habit became her gateway to a more peaceful, centered life, transforming her from someone driven by anxiety to someone who could navigate challenges with calm. Section 7. The Gratitude Advantage. The final secret is the most subtle, yet it might just be the most powerful of all. It's a mental shift, a way of seeing the world that flows through every part of life for these vibrant seniors. It is the practice of gratitude.
Every night, before I go to sleep, I think of 3 things from the day that I am thankful for. Even on a bad day, I can always find 3. A call from my grandson, the taste of a fresh tomato from my garden, the warmth of the sun on my face.
This wasn't just a nice thought, it was a deliberate practice. Research in positive psychology has shown that gratitude is one of the most reliable predictors of happiness and well-being. A simple gratitude practice can improve sleep, boost your mood, and create a greater sense of connection. Studies have found that grateful people tend to be more optimistic and can even have better physical health, with one study linking the practice to lower blood pressure. Gratitude literally rewires your brain. It shifts your focus from what's missing in your life to what you already have. It trains your mind to scan the world for the positive. For older adults, this can be a powerful antidote to feelings of decline or loss. It changes the story from one of scarcity to one of appreciation. Beatrice explained it perfectly. When you look for the good, you find it. And when you find it, the bad doesn't seem so big anymore. The actionable tip is as simple as it is profound. Start a daily gratitude practice. Before you go to bed tonight, write down or just think of 3 specific things you're grateful for. They don't have to be huge. The more specific, the better. This small act, done over and over, can fundamentally change your outlook on life. It costs nothing, takes only a few minutes, and can transform your experience of aging from one of fear to one of thankfulness. So, there you have it. 7 secrets from the people who are rewriting the rules on aging. Move naturally, eat until you're 80% full, live with purpose, cultivate deep social bonds, eat a plant-forward diet, master your stress, and practice gratitude. Looking back on the months I spent with these incredible people, I realized these aren't 7 separate habits. They're all interconnected threads in a single tapestry, a lifestyle built on moderation, connection, and a deep sense of purpose. The most surprising thing I learned is that living vibrantly after 70 isn't about luck or genetics, it's about choice. It's the conscious daily decision to choose growth over decline, community over isolation, and gratitude over complaint. These secrets show us that we have far more control over how we age than we ever thought possible, and it's never too late to start. You don't have to do everything at once, just pick one secret that speaks to you and begin there. Because the journey to feeling 50 at 70 doesn't start with a grand gesture, it starts with a single step. I want to leave you with one last thought from Arthur, the 78-year-old walker. He said, "People ask me how I stay so young. I tell them I just keep moving, and I never let my age tell me when to stop." Which of these secrets resonates most with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this inspired you, please share it with someone you care about. Our next documentary explores the surprising morning routine of a 92-year-old marathon runner. Subscribe so you don't miss it.